negativity of this entity was quite prolific. Violence, physical assault, movement of materials, throwing of objects. My name is Geoff Stanley. I've worked with Phoenix Paranormal Investigations for about 13 years. I've taken a little bit of a backseat recently, but I was heavily involved with the group just after it first started. Well, I think there's many different aspects to the paranormal. Paranormal in itself means something that is beyond what we normally perceive. So this could be anything from electromagnetic energy that gives us a sensation or a tingling, and paranormal can also be sentient energy or something that is beyond our physical realm, that is interacting with the physical realm. Phoenix are basically a group that's been set up to try and actually investigate, prove or disprove the existence or activity occurring because of paranormal. I first had my experiences when I was about 6, but took no notice, moved on through school, went into the army. After coming out of the army, I then got back into things and started looking into it from an investigative point of view. My first experience from an actual paranormal investigation was at Avebury some years ago, and then from that I developed with a colleague a paranormal group and started looking into things in that area. And then when I moved back up to Manchester, I joined Phoenix. The video footage that we're looking at now is a programme that was being constructed down in Avebury in Wiltshire. This was for a programme on paranormal activity around ancient sites. The chapel we're looking at now, one of the things that we did pick up were black shadows in the upper left-hand window, which seemed to be moving about in that pane. We don't have an explanation for that because the light was steady, the windows obviously do not move, and they were set and lead set. So the shadows were something of an anomaly that we couldn't explain at that particular moment in time. I found that I needed to take some time out after Brannigan's, and after a couple of other investigations following that, there was just a case of needing to take some rest. Well, Brannigan's is actually a pub and nightclub venue in Manchester. Previous to that, it was a Methodist meeting hall. It was one of the first Methodist meeting halls in Manchester, and is built and sited on what was an old Christadelphinian church. Well, the team was asked to go into Brannigan's because the bar staff were having problems with incidents of breakages and things being thrown about in the bar area. As a group, we went in on a preliminary investigation where we just interviewed a few people to find out a rough idea of what is going on. We then took the team in for an overnight vigil. It was only later that we actually ascertained who it was or what energy that it was affecting us. On the first night that we went to Brannigan's, it took a while for us to get set up, and we had a quick wander around just to get ourselves familiar with the layout of the place. But as the evening drew on, it became apparent that there was quite a lot of things happening. Quite a lot of the photos that we got that showed orbs, which we have to try and discern between orbs and dust. In the pictures you can see many different variations on that level of light intensity within those orbs. So some you can safely say is dust, some is something that's not explained. There was definitely something that was of a sentient nature because physical things were being done. The negativity of this entity was quite prolific. Violence, physical assault, movement of materials, throwing of objects. The Reverend's probably come to that point purely because he believes it's his church, and the Methodists were staunch anti-alcohol. So the fact that somebody had opened a pub in their church was really what was pissing him off. Reverend James was a Methodist minister who was in charge of the hall at the time, going back to 1800s. He was quite a stern man, and the Methodists used to take in waifs and strays, and basically shovel the Bible down their throats through Sunday school, but they ruled with the rod, and it is believed that quite a few children actually died whilst in the care of that church. The first time walking into the main hall upstairs on an investigation level, the room was perceivable as being full. If I had to put a number on it, I would say that there was approximately 1,500 different individual energies there. And then the photographs and orbs kind of collates that with the number of orbs we were getting, even after disseminating out particles of dust and light reflection from other things that were floating about in the atmosphere there. We could safely say that we had between 1,500 and 2,000 different orbs in various pictures. And I think that kind of weight affects you emotionally, and if it affects you emotionally, it can manifest physiologically. And the physiological change to that was that it basically gave me grey streaks. I think it had quite a profound effect on a lot of the group. Over the period of time that we were in there was nearly always something occurred, and the best description is almost to the point of it almost being possession. The energy can affect you emotionally, it can affect you mentally, and if you're not the kind of person that can deal with that kind of energy and that kind of fluctuation of emotion, it can be very difficult, and it can leave you drained, tired and feeling completely demoralised. The reason I came out of that somewhat is because I do have physical health issues, and in some cases those kinds of investigation can affect you on that physical level because it's a weak point, and that's something that from a sentient point of view could be targeted. I don't think there was ever a moment where it was a case of get the hell out of there, although when it came to trying to deal with the entity and the energy of the Reverend James, there were times that we weren't certain whether or not we'd be able to achieve that, and we had to use some other esoteric techniques in order to be able to do that, which basically involved the use of various crystals and some other different methods that can be used in dealing with spirits. And that wasn't to try and get him out of the building, it was purely to contain the energy in an isolated place within the building. It was about 5 or 6 years after the last visit that I did actually get asked to go back because somebody'd let him out. And that was a day I went on my own. I went upstairs, and that was the day I decided I needed to get out of there. I basically just got pushed out of the door to the upper part of the building. Just pushed out of the door, physically shoved out of the door. That's when I decided I was taking a time out. I'd been here as a child, and I remembered and found it was still open, so I came along one day just to come and have a see what was going on. I then volunteered on the maintenance crew. I then trained up as a driver, and then after the first year I was asked to become a trustee, and I've been doing that ever since. What it's done is it's given me the opportunity to get involved with something that's got a historical basis and is there for leisure and for pleasure of people. And being involved with that is kind of, for me, just allowing a little bit of time out and doing something useful. I've found other avenues in my life.